When were you born?
May 2nd, 1921. 80 years ago.
Do you know what, like, where you fell in birth order?
Number 3.
Out of
4.
okay. Can you name the, all of your siblings in order?
Sure. Was their real name or their nickname?
Both.
Okay, Bernice Flum.
2 syllables.
Mm-hmm. She was born in 1918. Bud was the next one. Irvin Joseph was born in 1919. And I was born in 1921. In June, from your grandma, born in 1923. So we were about 5.5 years. But we were thirds.
Where did you live? Like, what area?
Here, right here. Not in this house in Wayne County.
But right here in this area. What are some of your fondest childhood memories?
You know, it's kind of ironic that you asked that, because where we lived when we were born is known as Peter's Dam, which then was a real pretty place. It was well taken care of. It had waterfalls there, and it had locks up there. And we used to spend a lot of time up there. But the reason I say it's ironic that you asked, Suanne was home today, and she wanted to go to Peter's Dam. So we went up and had made such a change. But we used to go up there and go in the water, you know, and because we didn't have swimming pools in that you were able to use. You run in the canal, which we were not allowed to do. And we went up there because the water wasn't very deep. And it was just nice. And that's one thing I remember about when I was little. We had to work. Then we really had to work. We had chores to do before we went to school and when we came home from school. And I wasn't real excited about that. I can remember every Saturday morning in our kitchen, we had to clean out the entire cupboard where all the dishes were and where our utensils were. And I never could see the reason for that. But I guess our mother did. And I never did like to do that.
So that wasn't fun. Wasn't fun.
No, it wasn't. Far from it. And June and I used to work, you know, in the barn, milk cows and things like that. I can remember telling Suanne today that of a morning before we would go to school, we had to walk, and it was about a half a mile, not to school, not one of those stories.
Yeah.
We had to take the cows up to the pasture and walk back home and get ready for school. Get on the bus. We rode a bus. No one drove to school then, except the teachers. That's all.
Okay. What were your parents like?
I guess they weren't too strict. I mean, we had rules we had to follow, but they weren't too strict. And I can remember my mother would say, sometimes if we had done something wrong, she said, well, just wait till your father comes in. Well, he would come in, and we never knew for sure if she had told him. And we were so good around him, and sometimes she didn't tell him. You know, she used it as a threat, I think, and it really worked.
So was he stricter than your mom was?
No, I don't think so.
She just used it as a threat.
That's right. Mm-hmm. No, I don't think. I don't ever remember getting a spanking from my father, but I did from my mother.
Any specific memories you think of about them?
Of them? My dad, that's years ago.
Yeah.
Probably before you asked me this, I could have told you 100 million. But, my mother had certain foods that she didn't like, so of course we didn't like them because we never got them. And my dad never did get them because she didn't like them. I can remember when we had tomato seed, fresh tomatoes, ripe And she would always put sugar on it, and I never did like sugar on it. And to this day, I can't stand sugar on tomatoes. My dad used to smoke a cigar, and he would never smoke one. I don't think he ever smoked one in the house. Then we didn't have a lot of money. You know, we weren't we were far from wealthy. And my dad would smoke cigars, and it was usually on Sunday when we went someplace. And I always had to sit in the back seat. There were four of us, and we all had to sit in the back seat. And I would get car sick all the time in that back seat. And I think it was because of his cigar smoking.
So he would smoke in the car on the way to go.
Yes. And to this day, when I get in the car and smell cigar smoke, I get sick. I think it was from that, really.
Probably.
Yeah.
So, but you don't get car sick now.
Yes, I do.
You do?
I get car sick without smelling cigar smoke.
That's it.
But I think that when I get in a car in the back seat, I don't get sick in the front seat. I get sick in the back seat. And I think I remember when I was little when I get car sick of it.
So that just brings it up.
Yes. We spent a lot of time with our grandmother and grandfather on our mother's side. We were able to spend a lot of time with them. She had a horse and buggy, which we thought was a great thing. And then there came a time, you know, when we were just a little embarrassed to be in that horse and buggy. She would take us into town, and we were hoping we would see someone that we knew, you know, because here we were in that dumb horse and buggy. But we had a lot of fun when we were kids. I don't know, we had to make our own fun by playing together, you know, and join each other's company. We didn't have television then. We had a radio. We had one radio.
Do you remember like any programs on the radio that you liked or anything?
Mm-hmm. I can remember, but I can't remember the name of it. I can. His name was Dan Gentry. I can remember the hero, but I can't remember the name of the program. And we didn't dare miss that program. Because Dan Gentry would come on and say something, you know, we thought that was the best thing ever had.
So it was a story?
It was a story.
It was like a Western?
No. Basically, it was probably a halfway love story.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Then on Saturday night, we used to listen to the hit parade.
And that's just music?
Music, and you learn which were which was number one, you know, the songs. Ricky Lansing was on there, and we always listen to that.
Do you remember, like, what were your siblings like? Can you think of any memories about?
Well, yes, our older sister, we thought was bossy.
Anthony's bossy?
Yes, she was bossy. She used to be able to correct us, and I never did think that was right.
How much older was she than you?
About 3.5 years, probably.
And she still bossed you, right?
Oh, yes. Yes, she bossed. We had a lot of fun with Bud. We'd play with him, and everyone said he was spoiled, but I never did think he was. I thought he was fine because he was my older brother, you know. But June, her grandma, was spoiled. She was the youngest one, and she was spoiled. She really was.
How was she spoiled?
Well, she got to do things that the rest of us didn't. She got to go to camp, you know, in 4-H.
Oh.
The rest of us did. No, she got to go. She got to go places with other girls home from school, and we didn't get to. So, of course, we thought she was spoiled.
Yeah.
And I think she probably was.
Do you think that was because she was spoiled, or like your mom or your parents softened out by that time?
I think it's because she was the last one.
Oh.
Youngest. Yeah. I think probably now that I'm.
But at the time,
at the time. Oh yeah, it was her fault then, you know. But we used to gang up on our older sister, play tricks on her all the time.
Can you remember any of them?
when we were little, we had 3 bedrooms upstairs. Our mother brought us up downstairs. Bud had one room by himself, and we 3 girls had one room together. I don't know why we didn't use that 4th room. I don't know for the 3rd room upstairs. I don't know why. We just did. Well, and I would always be in trouble with my older sister. And June and I were in the same bed, sleeping together, and she had her own bed. And I did something to her, I don't know what it was, and I knew I was going to get it from her. So that night, when we went to bed, I asked June if she wanted to change places in bed. She said, yeah, I'll change places. Well, she didn't know what I wanted. Well, anyway, your Aunt Niece came in the room, she came over, and she grabbed who she thought was me, and slapped. Yeah, he slapped me a couple of times. And it was June that got it. Oh. And June hadn't done a thing. I thought it was funny myself.
Anything else? Didn't you try on her wedding dress or something? That was going to be
I forgot about that. Oh, good thing yeah, she was married. When she was young, she was only about 18, 19, maybe 20. She was very old. And she had her wedding dress here in our attic. And June and I one day decided to try it on. And I guess I had her dress on and getting ready to put her veil on, and I got kind of clumsy or something, and I stepped in the veil and a great big hole in that veil. And she saw it. Well, of course, we didn't know anything about that veil, you know. And she didn't know until their 40th wedding anniversary.
And that was like, how many years ago was that?
Well, she was probably in her 60s. She's 84 now.
She didn't even know until then?
Oh, she knew it.
Oh.
She went upstairs one day in the attic to get it. She wanted to show her dress and veil to someone. And she looked and she saw this.
But she didn't know you guys did it.
No, we weren't going to tell. So she brought it downstairs and she got that veil out and here was this great big hole on the veil. She wanted to know what happened. Of course, we didn't know anything, you know.
Yeah. Especially
me. I knew nothing. Until her 40th wedding anniversary. And they had a little skit. And all her dresses were being modeled. And the wedding dress being modeled. I think that model was the dress. And then the story was told then about she had found a big hole in her veil. So that's the day that I told her that I stepped in it.
What'd she say?
Well, she didn't dare ball me out in front of everyone, so I got by with it.
But you think she would have?
Oh, yeah.
So she was sorting that out 40 years later?
40 years later, she found it out.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty good.
Kept that secret for a long time. No way was I going to tell that.
How do you think your family or your childhood influenced who you are now or who you became as an adult?
Well, my mother always told us that if you don't get what you like, then you had better like what you get. And I remember that to this day, which I think a lot of people need to know that. Because not everyone gets what they like. You know? When you want something, you still get it. So then you like what you get. She also told us that she said, don't ever let me hear you say that you hate someone. Because you don't hate people. You may hate what they do, but you do not hate them.
You just hate the actions.
Yeah, which is right. You know, a lot of kids will say, I hate you. Mm-hmm. Well, we weren't allowed to say, I hate that person. And we weren't really allowed to make fun of people. You know, a lot of kids do, but we weren't allowed to. We had to...
something you totally ignore now, right?
yeah. Now it's just kind of funny, you know. And as far as being a nurse, I don't think anything they did or didn't do influenced me that way. I don't think it did.
Well, speaking of that, do you remember what your first job was? Or
I took care of someone that had a baby.
How old were you?
I just gotten out of high school before I went to nursing student. And I didn't really want to do it. But went up and took care of her, and I had to probably clean the house. I remember that. And I had to cook, and I didn't know how to cook that well. But we still living, so I guess it's okay. And I had to help with the baby, I was there for a couple of weeks. And that's the only thing that I did until I was nursing student.
Okay, why did you choose to become a nurse?
I don't know. I don't think I knew anyone that was a nurse, except we did have an aunt that was a nurse, but we didn't really know her very well. She lived too far away from us. We knew nothing about her. One day, when we weren't very old, or when I was a teenager, we were in Reed Hospital, and we were sitting there waiting to see someone or something, and I saw this nurse come in. She was real young and pretty, and she had her uniform on, of course, and she had a fur coat on, I remember, and she took her coat off. I thought, well, she was all it. She was a nurse, and I thought, that's what I want to be. So isn't that funny? Now that's the one thing that influenced me.
Weren't you a nurse in the Navy?
Yes.
When and why did you join the Navy?
Well, I didn't go to the Navy right after I got out of training. I worked at San Elizabeth's home.
Oh, so you were like a regular nurse at a facility until you went into the Navy?
I was there for a couple of years, which still have it in Indianapolis. That's it for about 2 years. And I think I probably went in the Navy because Bud was in the Navy then. And I thought, what if something would happen to him? What if he would get hurt and there wouldn't be anyone to take care of him? And I thought, well, maybe I can go. I won't take care of him, but I can take care of someone else. That's the reason that I went in the Navy.
When was it again?
I went in 1945, probably. I went in, let's see, VE or VJ, whichever was first. I think VE was first, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I quit my job out in Indianapolis to come home to wait my orders to go into the Navy. And I didn't get them for a long time, so one day we were going down to the ball game in Cincinnati, and I stopped in the hospital down there and asked if they maybe had some private duty nursing that maybe would be available for me. And the administrator said, no, we don't have that, but we would like for you to come and work on the floor, be a general duty nurse. And I said, well, the only thing about that, I didn't know for sure when I would have to quit. I said, when my orders come, I will quit that day, that very day. And she said that was fine. So I worked down there for about, 2 months maybe, waiting my orders. And when I was working down there, it was VE Day. I can remember very well that day that I was on duty. And then when I did actual physical and everything, we had to go to Great Lakes. I wasn't in service very long when we had VJ Day. So that was in 45, I think.
Do you have any defining memories about the Navy? Things that are most about your experience?
When I went in, we first went to Great Lakes, then we went to Corona, California, which was a famous resort up there, where all the wealthy people were, only the wealthy people were able to go. The day after Pearl Harbor, they turned that over to the Naval Corps to make it into a naval hospital. And it was a beautiful place up there. And when we went out there, they had 4 different units. When we went there, they asked us, they said, someone will have to go down and work in TB, tuberculosis. Well, most of us didn't want to. But this one girl spoke up, she said, oh, I want to do that. Well, we thought she was kind of dumb, but she went down there. And anyway, we had to all take our turns about going down there for 6 weeks, to learn it more than anything else. And at the end of 6 weeks, here on the holding board in our nurse's school, there's a great big note saying, the girls that are presently in TB will stay there. So I was stuck in TB. But that's okay because I learned a lot in TB. We had these 18, 19-year-old boys that were dying because they, wasn't much treatment for TB then. They had penicillin then, and then they had just started using streptomycin, which was new medication, and I don't think they even have it anymore because it had a lot of side effects that weren't very good. But I was stuck down there until I got out.
So was that one of those cases where you had to learn to like what you got?
That's right. And we had to be very careful because, most of those patients were pretty sick. A lot of them died, And you can see their mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers come, from different parts of the country to spend their last couple of days with them, and it was really sad. And then when we got out of the Navy, I had to have X-rays for a long time, 2 or 4 years, chest X-rays, to be sure that I had been exposed to the TB. No question about that. Like all these people today are exposed to this anthrax. But until you get the disease, it wasn't. That's right.
What are some of the things you like to dislike about a nurse, both in the Navy and outside?
Well, I worked in different parts of the hospital. I liked it all. I really liked where I was at that time. Wherever I was working, that's what I liked best. And I think that came from what my mother said, you like what you get. If I was working on the surgery floor, that's what I liked. If I was working in OB, which I worked in OB for about 30 years, that was what I liked. Yeah, I'm familiar with Las Vegas. I know how to do it.
Do you have any maybe funny stories involved with any of your experiences in nursing?
Oh yeah, lots of them.
Any?
Oh yeah. One time we had this real young mother that had just had her baby, and she was asking all kinds of questions about how to take care of her baby. How do you give it a bath? And what do you use? And we said, well, we use oil. And she said, do you mean standard oil? We said, no, baby oil. One evening, I was working 3 to 11, and we were just about done with our work. We were waiting for the night kids to come on. I thought, thank heavens I'm going to get done on time tonight. About 10 minutes before it was time to leave, this poor guy came running down the hallway, and he said, come help me. My wife's had her baby. And we had to get up and run, of course, and we had gone down to, he had parked in the emergency entrance, which was then in the inside the hospital. And you pulled right into the hospital. And we ran down there, and she was in the back seat, and the poor guy was so scared, and we tried to open the door, and he locked her in the car. She said, well, lock the door, let us in. Well, she had her baby, so we had to stay and take care of her and do everything that with it, Needless to say, I worked overtime that night. Those were not funny things, but, they stood out. Most of it was nice. There were some things that you didn't like about nursing, Maybe you had some people fussing all the time, and you had to be a peacemaker, You spend more time trying to make people get along instead of
actually doing your job.
That's right. Lots of paperwork. That was my biggest thing. And they still have it today, I guess. Lots of it.
Going back to family, when did your dad die, and then you began?
My father was killed right here on this farm. Well, he died in the hospital a couple hours later. I happened to be off that day, off duty, and I can still remember him, but yelled. He came running up there, but he drove up on the tractor. It was a tractor. He came up on the tractor, and I can still hear him yell. And he came in, and I got him died. And he told me to run down there that there'd been an accident, and he said, and Pop, maybe you were dead. Well, here I jumped in the car, and I drove down there as fast as I could, and I had no idea where he was. No idea at all. And I kept yelling for him, and finally I found him, and he was lying on the ground for it. And he wanted me to look for his glasses. His glasses had been knocked off, of course, So before I went down to hunt him, I called the first aid unit, and we had a party line at that time. And so there were two women talking on the telephone. So I told them that I had an emergency, and could I please have this line? And I hung up. Well, it seemed like I waited a long time, but I'm sure it was only a couple seconds. Yeah. So I picked it up again, and I asked again, could I please have this line? It's an emergency. And one of them said, well, I think she thinks she's got to have this line. We better hang up. I'm sure they felt awful after they heard that it happened. How old was I? It was in 61. He died. 40 years ago. He was 40 years old. And, of course, we took him down to the hospital. He died there. Short time. A couple hours. And then Bud was in the hospital for a while. He broke an arm. He had a broken arm. He had a broken hearing. He had to be a track on late. That's why he was in the hospital. And, let's see. Then that was in 61. The reason I can remember that was when Janet was born. She was this tiny baby when he died. And then Bud got sick. Oh gosh, he died in 77, and he had been sick for a couple years before he died.
Was it that point you started taking care of your mom?
No, not until later.
Oh.
You mean when she was sick?
Yeah.
Well, she wasn't sick very long.
She wasn't?
No. Bud was for quite a while. He went back and forth to Mayo Clinic for his chemotherapy, and we made many trips back and forth. Your grandpa went along one time, as I remember, and your grandma went several times. And then he died in 77. And then our mother was just fine. She did her own work. I mean, she didn't do a lot of work, but she was able to do cooking and cleaning, and she still did the paperwork as far as her checks were concerned, farm work. She still did all that. And on a routine work, they found out she had leukemia. And to the day she died, she never knew she had leukemia. We didn't tell her. We knew she had it for only about a year and a half before she died. But she was good until, maybe that summer. And she died in October.
How old was she?
90.
And the year was?
1982. She was born, I can remember her really well. She was born in 1892 and died in 1982. 90 years old. She was very active.
Now, Mom says that she was pretty funny. Do you remember any funny stories about her? Especially when, well, I guess because my mom was, she was old.
Yeah, your mother got along real well with her. They were best friends. Yeah, she was funny. Just a lot of things she did, and your mom was real close to her, and Grandma was real close to her, too. They were good for each other. Yeah, there were some things that maybe I don't want on tape that happened. It's best that they were on tape.
Okay.
I'm sure your mom will know what I'm talking about, but it's best I don't put on tape.
Anything you can remember that can be put on tape?
One time, I can't remember something. I don't know whether we needed the sheriff called or I can't remember how this was. And she called, and your grandma called your mother, and I said something we needed the sheriff to come down right away or the police or something. I don't remember how it was. And so your mom jumped in the car and came down, and on the way down, she met the sheriff, so she stopped him and told him what it was. And here she walked into the door with him. And your grandma said, I don't know how got that sheriff down here so fast. It was funny.
So after your mom probably lived in this house alone.
Yes.
So anything about that you find particularly interesting?
No, there were a lot of things that I would like to have done in the house before she died, but she didn't want it done. She wanted nothing done, so of course I wasn't able to. But after she died, I did a lot of work. As far as redecorating, did that. You know, got new curtains over the whole house, and we got new windows, and curtains, and had the place insulated, and we had it sided, had a garage built.
The chimneys, I remember the chimney guy.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Had that done, and had everything was papered, or repapered. Every room was. Just did a lot of work like that, but she didn't want it done at all, So she didn't want it done,
So you just did it.
No, we didn't do it. Did that. I remember when they built the garage out here, they poured. They did the driveway, and your sister went home, and she said something about someone said, what are they doing up there? And she said, oh, they're planting cement.
That sounds like Sarah.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest changes you've seen in your life, like the most noticeable ones? Like with technology in the world, like current events, and with family?
Well, in nursing, there's a big change. Well, maybe not so big, because a long time ago when we went in training, the nurse was at the bedside, and did all the work for the patient. For a long time, the nurse got away from the bedside. She had other things to do, And in came your nursing assistants, licensed practical nurses. And now they're back to the nurse. They think it's a new thing.
It was really just.
Oh yeah, it's a very old thing. Except the nurse now does more things for the patient, but she still is prime caregiver. And that, to me, hasn't changed. It's made a big drastic change in one way because she does things differently, but it's the same thing that she does. They do more teaching now. And, well, it brought back a lot of memories when, with this September 11th thing, that we were all afraid we were going to have war, and we lived through another war, World War II, and it wasn't easy. And not that was the hardest part, but that was one of the things that the people at home knew about. But, you lost people, in service, lost people in war. We lost several people who were close to us. Service.
Do you remember, what wars did you live through? World War II
and the
Vietnam.
Yeah, they don't call it a war, but that's what it was. And then, of course, when they were over in Iran, or not Iran, but Iraq.
Oh.
The Gulf War. That's what I was trying to think of. And of course, that was such a short.
Can you tell the differences in the war since you've seen them?
Well, now when something happens right now,
You see it happen.
You see it happen, yeah. But before you had to read it in the paper, what was going on in the war. And you had no idea what was going on. I don't know whether it's good or bad. I don't know.
Do you remember where you were when you heard about Pearl Harbor versus where you were when you heard about this?
Yes, exactly. The nurses trained in Pearl Harbor, and we had gone downtown on Sunday. It was a Sunday afternoon for us. And we were on our way back. We had to go on the streetcar because people didn't have, none of us had cars.
Where was this at?
Indianapolis. And we were on our way back. We'd gone down to see a movie, I think. Going downtown anyway. And on the way back, someone told us that Pearl Harbor was bombed. We heard that on the streetcar coming back downtown. And then the next morning, President Roosevelt on the radio, and we weren't allowed to have radios in our room when we were nurses training. They had one downstairs in the office part, and then we had intercoms on each floor, and we all were able to stop and listen to when he declared war. Well, he didn't declare war, but
he addressed the nation.
Yes, we're not allowed to declare war, but he said we were there for war. But that was President Roosevelt.
And then, where were you during this terrorist attack?
Watching TV, would you believe? I was watching.
Here in the house?
Here,
When it happened?
When it happened.
Well, do you know what do you think is the main difference between the two? Either in the way you found out, or, like you said, how they recovered?
That's it, how I found out.
Just how they found out?
And how it was covered, you know.
But when you saw this, did it remind you of that?
Oh, yes, right away. Yes. As soon as I saw it, I thought, well, we're going to be at war. I know we will, because, you know, we have to be. You know, how else are we going to solve this thing? Hopefully.
What are, do you have any, I guess not regrets, it's not a very good word, but things you wish you could have changed maybe throughout your life?
Probably if I had to live over again, I'd do the same. Because at the time that you made a decision, you know, you thought you were doing the right one. You know? And probably I'd do the same. Probably.
What do you consider either some of your greatest achievements or your greatest achievement thus far in life?
Well, probably my greatest achievement is my work that I did, you know, 40 years of it, day after day after day, you know, helping a lot of people. And he had, most everyone thanked you, you know, in their own special way. Some didn't, of course, you know, because some you were able to, please. But I think that's probably the greatest thing is to know that you had helped a lot of people. Because those people had to have help. There were some of the people that they weren't the cleanest people in the world, and not that you're any better than anyone else, but it's probably someone that you wouldn't associate with. Not that you're better, you're not better at all, but you have your own circle of friends, you know, and you have to do a lot of things to those people, you know, and listen to a lot of their things, and not only listen to them, you keep it, you know, you don't ever talk about it.
Sort of like a confessional, sort of.
Right. Yeah. And just able to do a lot of things that help people, probably.
Okay, well, this part isn't really formal, but this is just for my own benefit. That might work out. Just memories of, like Sarah, Seth, and me that you just remember, just for the heck of it.
Oh, I remember when Sarah, I think probably it was your mother that told me that you had Sarah. We thought that was the greatest thing, and my gosh, she was the greatest thing around here because she lived close and spent a lot of time with her.
Just up on the hill.
Yes, yeah. Always taking pictures of her, you know, and, you know, Sarah did this and Sarah did that, and, you know, and one night in the middle of the night, your mom called me and said that she had a real high temperature, 103, 104, something like that, you know, and I said, well, I'm right up here. And I went up, and we had to bathe her, you know, give her cold sponges to get her temperature down. And, oh, she was mad at us. She looked at, he said, I'm going to tell Big Ma on you.
Which was what she called her.
Yeah. I'm going to tell Big Ma on you. Oh, she was mad at us. But didn't make any difference to us. And then when Seth was born, what I can remember about him, he cried in the evening. Oh, he cried for a couple hours. Ask your mom about this. I'm sure she knows.
Yeah, she always said he cried a lot.
Yeah, he did. He did. And you were just a baby when they moved down there, so I wasn't around you as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were just a tiny baby.
Do you remember my parents getting married or dating or anything like that?
Not too well. I can remember we were ready to go someplace on a trip, and they stopped and said that they were engaged. And the day they got married at their reception over in Hannah's Park. I think they did. I think so. No, I can't remember too much about that, but your mother, from the time that she and your dad were going together, always felt at home here, I think, which was fine. We liked that real well. You know, she just made herself at home, which, you know.
Which is sound nice, the way she always tells stories about it now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One time when your grandpa was still living, we had been someplace one night, and for a while someone came here, and Barbara Daniel, I don't know if you know her or not, doesn't make any difference. She came up and she stayed up here for a while. I don't know whether maybe Grandma had been sick or something, I can't remember. It was when she was really sick. Maybe she hadn't been feeling well or something. And Barbara was up there. And we had been someplace that night, and we came home, and your grandma and grandpa were in there, and your great-grandma was in there, and I was there. And we were having a good time about something, I don't know what it was, and we started laughing. And when your grandpa would start laughing, it was really funny.
Everyone would laugh.
Yes, we laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed, and the phone rang. It was your mom, and I could hardly talk to her because I was laughing so hard. She, what's going on down there? I said, I can't tell you. And pretty soon, here she came walking in. She said, I got to see what's going on in here. And she was able to start laughing with us, you know.
And she didn't even know what you were laughing about.
No, didn't have to. Yeah.
She always tells a story about snorting. What was that about?
I think your mother was the one that called down here, and all she did was snort on the telephone. I can't remember how that started. She'll probably remember. But I just can't remember how it started. But there are probably a lot of them that I think of. Yes.
But there's one I'm trying to think of. The person that used to talk to himself or something. Talk to shells or talk.
He came out. That's just one guy.
Oh, that was just one? Oh.
Yeah. I had been someplace and I came home and I didn't have the front drapes closed or anything, you know. It was dark when I got home. So I went in and closed it, and I thought I heard something outside, but I didn't know. Didn't look, you know. And so pretty soon someone came to the door, and he, I can't remember his name. I wanted him there. Yeah, he wanted, I think, a drink of water. And I thought, well, I'm not going to let this guy in the house. I said, okay, I said, you step back and I'll come out and I'll give you a glass of water. Well, anyway, I looked out and he didn't leave. He stepped out here and he stepped and that kind of worried me because it was dark and there was a strange looking guy and he looked awful. He really did. He just kept sitting there. So then we had and the shell was still out there, seashell. And he had that up to the ear. This was just me. And I thought, this guy. So I thought, I better call. So I called him. I called your mom. And I told her. So your dad came up right away and Snooks and George came over. And he was real strange. And the police were called for it. And your mom called Cheryl Chambers and he came right away. And the police questioned him like everything. And I never did know what happened to the guy. I don't know if they probably took him someplace if I remember right. And so he said to Mr. George, he said, you know that light that was on? He said, you know, I can get a gun and I can shoot that light up. Oh, we used to play a lot of tricks on people, you know. Probably you do. If some of the kids, they were talking, and Savannah and I went up to Peter's Dam today. On the way back, I stopped on the road and told her about the buildings over there, you know. And there's a bank barn. And on the one side of the bank barn, these sliding doors. And one time, a long time ago, we used to have barn dances at church. So we had to go out and clean up the whole barn, you know. And people came, lots of people came. And all at once, and they had those big doors open back. It was real nice. The floor was real good and clean, and people were able to dance, and we had music, you know, and everything. And all at once I smelled something, and it got out of the smell. And I thought, well, it's just me smelling it, you know. And all at once everyone kept saying, what is that smell? So I thought, I'm going to get out of this barn. I can't stand this smell any longer. So someone else, you know, I can't remember who walked up to the house. And as we got into the house, the smell was terrible in there. And there were a couple kids. We found out later on that had gone down there and found some rotten eggs, and they threw them up there too, open area. And it hit right here. The rotten egg, it was awful. And the people that did are the rims. You know who the rims are? Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's one of the greeters down here at Walmart. You know.
One through the eggs.
Well, I don't know if he did it or his brother. I don't know.
Why did they throw the egg? Just to be
stuff. And then we had someone working for us that had a little small car. It was something like a two-passenger, something like a pickup truck now. And those kids went around and caught a lot of chickens and put them in his truck, you know. They slammed the door shut. Then they went up to Pop and they said, Mr. Daniels, we don't know, but we think you better check into that man you got working for. We think he's stealing your chickens.
So they were ready.
Oh, yeah. That's okay, because and just the cream when they get pretty, except the rotten eggs smells pretty bad. Yeah, package for that.
Okay, that's about it, I guess. Unless you have anything else you want to say.
Well, there's a lot of things that happen this year to you hard to
remember.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
So you're